This was big in the news this past week. A recent investigation has uncovered that Sports Illustrated has been publishing articles with AI generated authors, complete with fake biographies and headshots. The strategy involved creating phony writers with fabricated backgrounds and expertise to create AI generated buying guides containing affiliate links. The AI personas were periodically replaced with new ones, often accompanied by removing the previous content. This revelation follows a trend in various media organizations attempting to utilize AI tools, resulting in embarrassing errors and ethical concerns. Um, I'm interested to hear your take on this. Before we get to you guys, I put this same question out on both our Instagram account and our LinkedIn page, and basically shared this article and asked people, what do you think of this? Where do you come out on this? And I gave the three options of it's shady and deceptive, I'm okay with it, and at least disclose to me that this is AI. On LinkedIn, 75% said if you disclose it with me, I'm good, and 25 said shady and deceptive. Instagram was a little bit more even across the three choices. But yeah, this made some real headlines towards the end of last week. And I think the big thing here is more talking about the ethical side of things and creating these fake people and saying this content was created by these fake people, not necessarily the fact that AI is being used to generate content, because that's already happening. Duncan, where do you sit on this? What are you thinking?
I mean, I think it's a kind of an interesting dilemma because you look at Sports Illustrated, you look at news websites. I mean, even in the financial world, especially with stock updates, there's a ton of AI generated content that's there that just gets manually fed out. But you also have this sort of culture from a news standpoint, and I guess Sports Illustrated as well, where there's this transparency of who is writing the content, where they always have like, this is the author, so they have this experience so that you can trust what is being written. So I understand where there's not really a solution to what an AI author would look like and if we would deem that as a trusted source. So I could kind of see where Sports Illustrated went with this, where they're trying to it's a little deceptive that they're using a fake person, and I don't think that is the right approach, but it does ask the question, what is the correct approach? Like, is it that you put an avatar and you put a little AI symbol, like that's the universal thing? But I don't think society as a whole, we've come up with like a way to describe content that's written by AI, so that everyone's like, oh, okay, this AI wrote this. And then the second side of that is when you work or integrate with an AI, usually they're not just like writing all the content. There's a human behind the scenes who is giving it the inputs and guidance to build an article with certain criteria. So then the question becomes, is it really the AI's content, or is it like the prompt writer into AI that should be getting the credit? And again, I don't think we have a universal solution to what that looks like. So I can see why these conversations are happening. I can also see why this is a complicated issue.
It's like the train's driving too fast and we don't know how to drive it yet, basically.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I just simply say that, there are certain things that there's no rules around it yet. So it's a little bit of the Wild West where there's no understanding of if you should do this, if it's ethical to do this or not. And I think, we have to figure out what that might look like through these trial and errors and this public shaming of Sports Illustrated. Like it's just a reality until we come up with universal solutions for this kind of content.
Ian, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think I think part of the reason Sports Illustrated were so embarrassed by what came out was that this had been outsourced to a third party. The buying guides had been outsourced, and I don't believe they actually knew necessarily that this was how it was being done. As Duncan touched on, I think that the problem with the way it had been handled, to me, was that it was essentially designed to deceive. It was made to look as if it had been written by a real person. They went as far as getting artificially generated photos of the author, creating an artificially generated biography of the author that talked about them, loving time on their parents' farm and spending time with their dog and things like that. So it was designed to deceive. Whereas I would have zero problem with it if there was a line at the bottom that just said this this article was artificially generated and reviewed by our team, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something very simple and straightforward. It doesn't need to go into a lot of detail. So yeah, and I think another ethical issue for me, I guess, was that because it was buying guides, it was essentially product reviews. And as advertisers, we know that reviews are powerful things. People are more likely to be influenced by others who are like them, who like the things they like, which is why things like Amazon reviews are so powerful. So writing it in the style of a review or a buying guide, I think it adds an additional layer to the fact that it's deceiving. But we are in the world, we're moving into the age of deep fakes and things like that, where you really can't trust what you see anymore. So I think as consumers, it's just something we need to be aware of. And
they probably figured out that, this, whatever the article specifically was talking about with the buying guides, like you could tailor the author to be that sort of key demographic with the content.
And I think that's what
I guess it becomes tricky too, because then you start getting into the question of reviews, and reviews were built on trust. So it kind of opens up a lot of cans of worms when you start creating all these fake people. I mean, I think we've all probably seen those tools that allow you to create a completely fake face from using AI, because there's a lot of there's software and tools out there that just have collected all this information of what people look like, and then they create a brand new person. And we always wondered how that was going to be used, and I think now we're starting to see it. It's interesting.
Yeah. No, and I agree that to Ian's point too, if you would have just simply put a line at the bottom without the author stuff, this was generated by AI but reviewed by our staff, then at least people can read it and they can see that and they can make their own determination on whether or not they want to believe it. But the fact that you tried to make up fake people that created this content, that to me is totally not where this needs to go. I know there's going to be really amazing uses for AI, and there already are. This was just the one where it was like, you shouldn't have done that though. You didn't need to trick us like that. Yeah. If they would have just put that line at the end, I don't think we'd be having this conversation.